Today on All Things 80s, we're looking at the AT-AT Commander. Welcome back to All Things 80s. Now, the AT-AT Commander is a figure that holds a dear place in my heart. And before we get a real good look at this figure, I want to share with you a short story that was sent to me by a subscriber named Tamazros, and I hope I said that correctly. He put together a very short piece regarding the AT-AT Commander's adventures on the planet Hoth. And it was so well written, and he also submitted a couple of photographs of his own AT-AT Commander, which I'm going to show you right now. So this was just a short story, and I'm going to share it with you right now, and once that's done, we're going to take a look at the AT-AT Commander. General Veers was one of the few Imperial officers that did not appear to be exceptionally incompetent. He was a methodical, matter-of-fact army man who didn't brag about his actions but knew how to get things done, as is proven by a successful military operation on the ice planet Hoth. During this operation, he succeeded in blowing up the Echo Bay shield generator, leaving the rebels hopelessly exposed and vulnerable to Lord Vader's subsequent attacks. Thanks to that successful military operation that was aptly codenamed Blizzard Force, the popularity of the general within the Imperial ranks had risen to such an extent that Maximilian Veers had become a formidable war hero of the First Galactic Empire. But alas, soon all this glory and praise would come back to him and hit him in the face like a boomerang, because only a few days later, new Imperial intel had revealed that it was not the clumsiness of Admiral Ozzel, who had taken the fleet out of lightspeed too close to the Hoth system, that had alerted the rebels down below to the presence of Lord Vader's fleet. Reliable sources from within Compnor's elite Comp Force unit stated that it was his own son, Zavulin Veers, the eldest, but sadly also the softest, the weakest, and the most inept of all his siblings, whom he had provided with so many opportunities and for whom he had envisioned a brilliant military career much akin to his own, who had managed to get himself captured by some low-life rebel scum commando only to defect and reveal all the precious tactical details of the top-secret Blizzard Force attack to the enemy. So I hope you enjoyed that little story there, and a big thank you to Mazros for that. It was very insightful. So anyway, on to the AT-AT Commander figure. I mentioned that this is very dear to my heart, and it really is, because this is a figure that I can remember exactly where and when I got this figure. So it was the winter of 1982, and I can also narrow it down further and tell you it was a Friday in the winter of 1982. How do I know it was a Friday? Because my grandma used to always visit us on a Friday, and I distinctly remember being with my mom and my grandma in the small town I grew up in Scotland, and we had one supermarket that was called the Co-op, which later changed to Scotmid. And it was on this building where the ground floor was supermarket, and upstairs they sold everything from furniture and paint to ladies' underwear. And of course they had a very small toy department. And given that it was a small town in Scotland, this was the only place that I could get Star Wars figures locally. So like I said, it was a Friday in the winter of 1982, and I remember purchasing this figure. I was back in Scotland last year, and I'm very sad to report that the building that housed the supermarket and upstairs had become quite derelict. And it was in the process of being torn down when I was there I think it was last August. Quite sad actually to see that, because I had so many great memories of that store, particularly because that was a place I would go to get Star Wars figures. So anyway, this is one here on an Empire Strikes Back card. So let's get a real close look at this, and we'll talk about the figure itself. Right, so here we are, AT-AT Commander. This example I have here is not particularly minty. Bit of residue up there. The punch is kind of frayed, and the card is dented and extremely yellowed. So anyway, First things first about this card. Interesting thing is it's one of the few characters whereby the picture is not that of the character. It's showing the AT-AT. Another thing interesting is that this offer for the Star Wars display arena is actually printed on the card. This is not a sticker. Flipping it over is particularly interesting in as much as this was an offer that I did not send away for, although I do remember collecting these. I do recall getting the 4 LOM figure mailed to me, and possibly the Darth Vader carrying case, but that I'm not 100% sure on. But it's just wonderful to see these card backs, especially the 45 card back, because as things progressed, it got more and more cluttered. But this is like the perfect amount of figures to look at and imagine which ones you were going to spend your pocket money on. Now, going back to the front here, we see that he is given the name AT-AT Commander. Now, obviously his name was General Veers, and there was one issue of this figure that did actually have his name as General Veers, and it was a Canadian Sears special edition, which was part of a multi-pack of figures. And my understanding is that they received the figure before the card backs were ready, and they kind of mocked up their own card back for this figure and gave him his correct title of General Veers, which was nice. And it would have been nice to have had it here, but regardless, it is what it is, and he will forever be known as the AT-AT Commander. Now, this, in terms of the figures that I've unboxed, this is one of the sort of nicer ones, but it's not a prime display piece. And as you know, I'm all very touchy-feely, and I love to get my hands on these figures. But I am going to be somewhat careful, and if I wish to, I can actually put this back on and make it look like a mint on card display piece if I so wished. But I really, really just want to get this figured out and just bring back the memories, which is what this is all about. Made a bit of a mess of that, but you know what? I'm not overly concerned, because for me, a collection is all about a loose collection. Always nice to see these little footers here. It was a nice touch. It's not very well cut. It was a nice touch, and I can understand why they dropped it, because obviously it was just adding to the cost of production and didn't bring any value to the toy itself. But onto the figure. Now, I have to do my obligatory smell test. And yep, it smells good. Now this is a figure I particularly liked because it just looked very authoritarian, and the blaster, of course, was very common in the Empire Strikes Back range of figures. Now, another reason for me going down the mint on card route to get this figure is that this is another of those that does suffer quite commonly from the rub nose effect, where the paint, the flesh color paint is rubbed off and sort of leaving him with a black nose. That's not something I want to see in my collection. And just holding it just now, obviously I can't describe fully just how wonderful this feels. It's been so long. Well, I mean, 38 years since I opened one of these. But it's a great, great figure. It really is. It just looks so good. And this one is, clearly it's absolutely mint. Just trying to sort of read what it says on the back, but sadly as I get older, my eyesight is getting worse and worse. God damn it, I cannot see that. What's that, 1980? Lucasfilm Limited 1980, yeah. So this was, like I said, it was 1982 I got mine. And the feeling that I'm experiencing right now is the same as it was back then, just thoroughly happy to have this in my collection again. Very, very happy. And it is one of these great figures because there simply wasn't enough Imperial characters produced by Kenner back in the days. So the few that we got, we tended to really, really enjoy. And this one is a prime example of a very authoritarian looking Imperial commander. Fantastic. Yeah, extremely happy with that. And I'm just wondering if I were to put it back in the box or the bubble, how it would look. And you know what? The card being reasonably okay, I could probably get a clear replacement bubble for this if I so wished. But it's not, there we go. It's not really, I'm not really into this displaying them in packages. You know, if money were no option, yes, I'd have a loose collection and a mint on card collection, but as that's not the case, for me it's one or the other, and for me it has to be a loose collection. But as you can see, the way it was cut still looks, obviously from the side, it still looks like a good mint on card piece if I were to go down that route. But as I'm not, this will be part of my loose collection. So there we have it, the AT-AT Commander. So I hope you enjoyed that unboxing and a little my background as to why this figure was particularly special to me. And also a big shout out to Tamaz for his little short story. I hope you enjoyed that as well. So as always, I ask you to please like the video, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and stay tuned for more videos from All Things 80s.